which I get about NFT. If you take a screenshot, which is if I take a screenshot, I now own that NFT. Honestly, you don't own that NFT. That's now how NFT works. Let's talk about NFT. What is NFT? Why it is useful? Why greed is spoiling the NFT? And why we should care about NFT? And there is one question which I keep on hearing in NFT space, and especially from the people who doesn't know or understand NFT, that if you take a screenshot of any NFT, they own that NFT. They think that they own that NFT. Let's talk about that. So what is NFT? So first thing first, my name is Karthikeyan, and if you are new here, just subscribe. And if you're old and didn't have not subscribed yet, just subscribe. It helps me, and it helps my YouTube algorithm. And if you don't want to, then it's okay. It's your wish. But yeah. So what is NFT? The full form of NFT goes like non-fungible token, but that can be told by anyone. What actually non-fungible token means? The non-fungible token actually is the complicated way of saying that if I own something, and if that thing has my original identity included with it. Let's say if I'm a painter, if I have signed that painting, now I'm the owner of that painting, and I have a unique identity which is attached to that painting and which cannot be copied. If I wanted to make another painting like that, I can make another painting like that, but original will be original. There will be some difference, a different in stroke or in lines or way of painting that painting, but the original which I have created with my unique identity will be the original. So how NFTs work? So when you mint NFT, which is a very fancy way of saying when you create an NFT, minting is just creating an NFT. When you mint an NFT, behind the scenes, when you create an NFT, you are creating a series of command on a blockchain which contains your timestamp. Timestamp is basically at which time this NFT was created, who is the owner of NFT, and some metadata about that NFT. So these are the information which is actually present in an NFT. When you create an NFT can be transferred. Yes, you can. There can be a change of ownership, and it can be done in very seamless way. And it can be like, it is as easy as we can lend someone money or borrow someone money. It's like that. So why people are why NFT is important, and why people are ruining with their greed. So the essence of NFT is that if there is a copy which is created by an original creator, he, she, or anyone, I'm not including any gender specific here, anyone with who is an artist, let's scrap the gender part, who is an artist, can claim the ownership of that NFT. That he can get a fixed price which he wanted, or any price which he want for his art from his side, and the ownership of that art will be totally and wholly will be with the artist only. So let's say if I created an art, and if I created an NFT, like basically a digital art, and if I wanted to sell it, I have that ownership, and I can sell that art at any price. Let's say I want to sell it at 10 lakh, 15 lakh, or 20 lakh. At any price I can sell. The thing which makes NFT great is this, but this thing also make some greedy people take advantage of NFT. People are now creating projects which have no value, which have nothing to do with social or economic reform, or nothing to do with art. They are just seeing this thing as a quick profit. Let's say there is a community which believe in certain cause. Let's say they believe in environment, a clean environment, and they create an NFT in which they provide some digital art or audio or a video, and a certain portion of that collection goes towards environment. This will create a positive impact on environment, and the community can feel a sense of camaraderie because they have something which is unique to them, and by which they can bring reform. But on the flip side, if someone wants to sell something which doesn't have any significance no, whatsoever, he can mint that and he can sell it and he can take that profit. And here at this point, the investor or the person who is buying that NFT should do a research that if he, she, or anyone else is investing in some project, what kind of project it is, and what is the significance and potential value of that project in real world or in virtual world. After that, let's talk about the most weird question which I get about NFT. If you take a screenshot, which is, if I take a screenshot, I now own that NFT. Honestly, you don't own that NFT. That's now how NFT works. I will give you an example. If I go and see a Mona Lisa, and if I take a picture of a Mona Lisa, I have a picture of Mona Lisa. That doesn't mean I own a Mona Lisa. Yes, I have a copy of a Mona Lisa on my phone. I can print it, I can use it anywhere. That's good enough. But I don't own original Mona Lisa. What makes an original Mona Lisa is that the creator, the strokes, the color, how it is created, at which time it was created, who created it, and why it was created. These are some qualities which make Mona Lisa so valuable. If you let's say, if you have a money and you print a money, that doesn't mean that you can spend that money. You have a copy of money, but the thing which make money valuable is who is giving you the money. The government which is authorizing your money will set the value of that money. So the physical representation of something which you have doesn't mean that you own it. If you take a screenshot of an NFT, you don't get the metadata which is attached with the original piece. You don't get the timestamp. You don't get the ownership right, because the original owner of that NFT never transferred you that NFT. So you don't get to claim that NFT. If you take that screenshot and if you run it to claim it, or if you run it to have some profit, quick profit, and if somehow you got caught by a system like with the blockchain and all, you can't sell it, because that doesn't have, because computer or your system will go through that blockchain and it will see that it doesn't contain metadata or any timestamp which is related to that NFT. So that is worthless. And the whole concept of blockchain, the whole concept of this NFT is actually based into cryptography. Like, blockchain is essentially a part of cryptography, and NFT is the part of blockchain technology. And in cryptography, if people don't know the cryptography, there is a public key and private key. Let's break it down. It's like a password. As in cryptography, you have to provide some public key or private key to the system to make him understand that you are the owner. And from cryptography, we got blockchain, on which cryptocurrency and NFT is based. And on blockchain, we got NFT. So there are certain parameters which needs to be satisfied to claim the ownership of an NFT. So if you say that by taking a screenshot you can claim the ownership of an NFT, I'm sorry to bring this news to you. No, you can't claim that ownership. Yes, you can have a physical copy of that NFT. Yes, you can show that person an NFT, but that doesn't mean that you own that NFT. an NFT is just not a picture. It can be music, it can be video, it can be a GIF, it can be anything which can be converted. Which can be converted in 0 or 1 form, because essentially all our system, like all of the code which we write in cryptography in any language, the only thing which matters to a system is 0 and 1. Our system understands 0 and 1. We are doing on very large scale, but at the end of it, everything is represented in 0 and 1. So if you think that by taking a screenshot of NFT you can claim that NFT, so there is certain parameters which you need to satisfy. But if you like this video, you can help me to boost the YouTube algorithm by subscribing and commenting and liking this video. And yeah, but if you don't want to, I will not force you, but if you want to, it will be great for me. And tell me what you want to understand or hear about next. I play FIFA also. There are some videos on this channel where I'm playing FIFA. I do live stream of FIFA sometimes. So if you're interested in that, they are present on my profile. But till then, be happy, have peace, and everything will be all right if you're going through something. So peace.